Welcome to Math Mini Lessons. My name is Sarah, and this is part 2 of the 6th grade New York State review before the state test. On this section, you have multiple choice problems as well as constructive response. And just like we did in the last video, we're going to start with multiple choice, going just a few at a time, 3 or 4 problems at a time. I'll give you the answer. If you had it correct, move on to the next section. But if there was something where you had a different answer and you're not sure why and you can't correct it, watch that section of the video and you can do it at your own pace. Once we're done with all the multiple choice, you're going to go to the constructive response where I'm going to share not just the right answer, but the strategies in order to get that answer. For 1-point problems, you just need an answer. But when we get to the 2 and 3-point problems, you have to make sure you have complete and correct answers. So I'll show all the work, all the complete work you would need to get full credit on the exam. If you find topics really hard or you have questions, please put them in the comments and I will just respond back and share so you're really ready for the exam. One more thing, on day 2, you are allowed to use calculators. So if you used one for this section, that's perfectly fine. With that said, we're going to jump in. Okay, Math Marbles, see you soon. So before we start part 2, I'm going to really use this website, and I'm going to link it in the comments, in the description for you. And I'm using this because I know a lot of kids in New York are going to take the exam on computers. It's not mandatory yet for everyone, but it will be for next year. So I'm going to hit Math, Grade 6, and Equation Sampler. And I'm going to do that. Hit Start, Continue, and just X out, Start. And I'm going to do that just so, again, you know where all the buttons are. So if you need a reference, you would hit reference and you have your formulas here or any of your conversions. But I want to make sure we have the calculator we're going to need for today's section. So I'm going to just make this a little smaller for us on one side, and we clear this out. And while I'm going through this section, the multiple choice and the constructive response, I'm going to have these tools ready. So for multiple choice, we'll have the calculator. You'll see me work it out. When we get to constructive response, I'll open it up and show you how not only to solve the problem, but how to put the most important parts in the answer box or to show your work box so you get full credit for your ideas and your thoughts. Okay, so we're going to get ready to jump right in. Let's start with number 31. We know that a number is 75% of a number. So I know a lot of times kids do this, that number 60 is equal to 75%, but remember it is 75% of some number. So we're going to start by making a ratio table. And I'm going to write that 75% as a ratio, 75 over 100. And we know that the 60 is equal to the 75, the part. We don't know what that number is over here. And now we're just going to do our cross products. 75 times a number is just that, 75 times a number. And 100 times 60 is 6,000. And you can use your calculator if you need to do that. Now I'm going to write down that equation. 6,000 is equal to 75 times a number. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 75. So I have only one number on one side. And we're going to clear our calculator. 6,000 divided by 75 gives us 80. And that's why we have our answer choice B. Let's move to number 32. The table below shows the ratio of the number of teachers to the number of students. So it's teachers to students at a school. The ratio of teachers to students is constant. 3 numbers are missing from the table. Which table shows the correct numbers in the table? So we're trying to find these numbers and we know they are constant. So before I look at anything here, I'm just going to use the simplest ratio, the 2/5. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put my unknown. So I don't know this number, but I know this is 15. So that's the first one. And just looking at it, I know how I can go. I could do cross products. I absolutely could. But I also know something to be true. I can use my multiplicative relationships, meaning there's a number I can multiply this ratio by that will produce this ratio, and I know that that number would be 3. 3 times 5 makes 15, so I'm going to do the same thing on top. 3 times 2 makes 6. So I know that this number here, let's see, erase this, is 6. So that's the first ratio I'm looking for. And just looking here, I can now eliminate C because I have 12 over 15. Now I can do the same thing in the next ratio, and I can just do 2/5, and now I have 8 and a number blank on the bottom. And I can do the same multiplicative relationship. This time it's going to be 4 over 4. 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 5 is 20. So I should be looking for 8 over 20. So that means I can definitely get rid of A because it has 8 over 16. And now we'll go to the last one. 2 choices left. 2/5 and a blank and 75. Now this one might be trickier. You might not know 5 times what number gives us 75, and that's okay. You have a calculator for that. There you go, 15. So I know my multiplicative relationship is 15 over 15, and 15 times 2 gives us 30. And that is incorrect in D. So B has all the ratios we wanted: the 6 over 15, the 8 over 20, and the 30 over 75. So you can hit pause and jot this down. Love this strategy. Let's look at 34. The ratio of the number of yards to miles is 3,520 to 2. How many yards are in 5 miles? So we know we're going to make a ratio table, and we want yards to miles. So 3,520 yards are in 2 miles. We want to know how many yards, that's our unknown, are in 5 miles. So for this one, we're going to do our cross products. So I have 2 times the number is equal to 3,520 times 5. All right, let's do this math out so we actually have it. So we have 2n is equal to 3,520 times 5, which is 17,600. And now I'm going to divide both of these by 2. And we get n is equal to 8,800 miles. So here I didn't choose to make a multiplicative process because I can't have a full number that multiplies 2 to 5. It would be a mixed number. So I decided to use my cross products. But hit pause and jot this down if you had any error on 33 or 34. To go, we have 35 and 36. Let's start with 35. Which expression is equivalent to 4 times 3m plus 1? So I'm going to just distribute. And 4 times 3m is 12m's, and 1 times 4 is 4. So I'm just going to look, and boom, there you can see it. So this was a great gimme. They just wanted to make sure you knew how to distribute. Let's look at 36, another RP problem, which probably means a ratio table. Mark ran 80 miles in 60 minutes. So I'm going to just express that. Miles, minutes, 8 miles, 60 minutes. If Mark continues to run at the same rate, how many minutes will it take for him to run 12 miles? So I'm going to put 12 into miles. I don't know this number. And we're going to do our cross products. So we have 8n is equal to 60 times 12. I know 6 times 12 is 72, so this is 720. And now I can divide both of these by 8. N is equal to 90. I just did that in my head because 72 divided by 8 is 9, so 720 divided by 8 is 90. All right, so you can hit pause and jot this one down into your notes, and we'll jump right into our constructor response. 1-point problems. In this one, your answer should be 275, or you can write area A is equal to 275 square feet. Let's jump in and actually do the work for that. And all you're going to do is you're going to use your area formula. And if you don't remember what that is, you can hit your reference. And there you have it. Area equals 1/2 base height. So again, if you're not sure how to do that, that's all you would have to hit. Let me make this a little smaller on this side so I can cross it out. There we go. All right, and now I'm going to just substitute my numbers. I have my height and my base here. So area is equal to 1/2 times 25 over 1 times 22 over 1. So I just have to do 25 times 22 to get our calculator out. 25 times 22 is equal to 550. And now I just have to divide that part by 2. 550 divided by 2 is 275. Now, this is a 1-point answer, meaning you're not going to have this top box. You're just going to have the one on the bottom. So you can literally just type in area is equal to 275 square feet. That's all you would have to write, and you would have a complete answer. If you wanted to show your work, I would just put in my formula, start with that. So area is equal to, I would hit this little button for fraction, and I will put 1/2 times base height. So that's my formula. And then I would just start typing in the numbers. 1/2 times, and then we'll put a little X there. And I will put the same numbers in there. 25 over 1 times 22 over 1. And all of that would be equal to, I put in another fraction bar, 550 over 2. And we know that final answer area is equal to 275. So that's what I would do if I wanted to show all my work. I'd start by putting a formula in, and then I would show how I plug everything in, how I substitute, and then how I simplified it, and how I got my final answer. So you can hit pause, and I would suggest you open up this equation editor and practice typing this answer in. Even if you did it on paper, practice to feel what it's like to type this into the equation editor so it doesn't feel unnatural, or you don't get nervous or frustrated the day of the test, because it is a little challenging when you're hitting this button and at first you don't know why it's not hitting. You have to literally tap in there. So get that practice in early to see what it's like so it's not brand new to you the day of the test. Let's look at number 38, and there are two ways you can have this answer. Either negative 27 is greater than negative 35, or negative 35 is less than 27. So check and see if you have those answers. If you have it right, just go to the next section. If not, stay here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a number line. And I know that on my number line, the bigger numbers are going to go on the left, on the right, and the smaller numbers on the left. And I'm going to put 0 here. Now, from 0, negative 27 degrees, that's cold. But negative 35 degrees is really, really cold. So I'm going to put them here. And the reason I like this is because then I can see this relationship. Because I know the bigger numbers on the right, I know that my alligator symbol is going to face that way. The alligator mouth is open there. Or my greater than is going to face the right side. So here we go. Now I have negative 35 is less than negative 27. Or I can write the opposite. Negative 27 is greater than negative 35. So this is a simple 1.1 to type. I don't have to show too much work here at all. I'm either going to put in negative 27 is greater than negative 35. Just don't forget to put the symbols. And I could even go further and go, or negative 35 is, oops, put it in the wrong space, less than negative 27. That's it. That's all we have to do for this 1-point problem, is to make sure we're using this symbol. Now, I can't use this symbol greater than or equal to, because there's no way that negative 27 is ever going to be equal to negative 35. But that's it. If you wanted to show what this looks like, the only thing I could think of is to kind of do the drawing. Let's open this up, where you can kind of draw your number line. and then you would put your two values in. And then I always put this so I can see this relationship. And then I would just hit add. That would be the only thing that I can think of if you wanted to show your work for this one. But it is a 1-point problem, which means I just need an answer. So hit pause and practice writing it out. And 39 is another actually really simple 1-point question. The question is asking us which ratio of number of circles to total number of shapes. And the two answers are either 2/5 as a fraction, or you can put it with a colon, or you can put 2/5. That's all you would really need for this one. And I would just write that down in my box by restating the question. The ratio of number of circles to the number of the total number of shapes is, and then I'll just put my little fraction symbol. Where are you? Up here it is, all the way at the end. Let me make this a little longer. 2/5 or 2/5 or 2/5. And that's it. That's all I would really write down for this one. So again, if you have any of those three, then you get full credit, and I would literally just type a full sentence with my 3 answers. Now, if you're not sure how I got 2/5, I would have started my ratio square, and I want the number of circles to the total number of shapes, and there are only 2 circles out of 5 shapes. So with my second one, I just had to put it in simplest form, and I can't simplify 2/5. It's already in simplest form, so that's my answer. And that's it. All right, so go back and check your work. Any hotspots for this would probably be kids who maybe put, I'm not sure, like I wouldn't put 2 of these squares. Maybe I could see a kid putting 2 to 3 where they're comparing the circles to non-circles as a hotspot, but this one was a very straightforward 1-point question. Now we're getting to some 2-point questions. So here you will have the show your work box, because this is a show your work question, and your answer is either going to be 5 or x is equal to 5 inches. Either one of these will work, so that's all you would put. X is equal to 5 inches. That's all I would write into the box to have a correct answer. So you have that, great, but make sure we want to also see you have the complete work, because this needs a correct answer and clear work being shown. So let's go through it. Lee, sorry about this typo, this should be Lee. Lee makes a rectangular shape. Tile pattern by placing 3 tiles side by side with no space in between. Here's the list. The first tile is a square with side length x, so it would just kind of look like this. The middle one is a rectangle with a width of x and a length of 3x. Okay. Because they're side by side. And the third one is a square with the side length x. So you have another square. Awesome. So we have this here. The perimeter is equal to 60 inches. What is the value of x? Okay, so I'm going to redraw this into a more simple rectangle. So I know these sides are x. And on the bottom, I'm just going to add these 3 together. X plus 3x plus x is 5x, and here's 5x. So now I'm going to put, I know my perimeter is equal to 60. So 60 is equal to x. Let me give myself some more space. 60 is equal to x plus 5x plus x plus 5x, because this is perimeter. I'm adding them all up together. They're all like terms. X plus x is 2x plus another 10x. I get 12x. So 60 is equal to 12x. Now, I can see two different things happening. You can divide both sides by 12 and you just get x is equal to 5. I can see a kid doing that, or I could see a kid rewriting this sentence. Get my eraser going. And a kid saying, well, 60 is equal to 12 times x. 60 divided by 12 is equal to x. And then still getting 5 is equal to x. Either way works. Now, here's the tricky part. I need to show that work up here somewhere on my page up here. So how am I going to do that? So I would probably start by doing the drawing. Let me draw this out a little bit, make this a little bigger so we can see it. And I would draw my x, and then here are my three pieces here, x, 3x, x, because I want my thinking to be completely visible. And then I would redraw it in simplest terms, x, 5x, x, 5x, and I'm going to add that drawing. So that's the first thing that I could do. And notice how I can hit these little angles to make this bigger or smaller. Now, so how do I show my work to get this answer? I'm going to put perimeter is equal to 60. 60 is equal to x plus 5x plus x plus 5x. And then I'm going to type 60 is equal to 12x. Now this is where you get some choices, right? So I could say I'm dividing both sides by 12. And this is, watch how I'll write this. 60 divided by 12 is equal to, I'll draw another one, 12 divided by 12. So I can just leave this. And then I know my answer to that was 5 is equal to x. That's one way you can show your work. The other way would be, so here's 12x, I would just rewrite it as 60 divided by 12 is equal to x. 5 is equal to x. Either one of these ways will work. So you can use either one, but here I have complete work. I have my answer. I'm showing how I got the 5x, and even my drawing shows where I got it in. So that's what you're looking for. You want complete and accurate work. So I'm hit pause, and I would say try this out. Go to the equation editor and practice typing this out. So again, you get a sense of what it feels like, and you figure out which of these two ways makes the most sense for you. Is it rewriting this into a division problem, or is it showing the division as a fraction? You get to decide, and whichever way you want to use is the one you'll probably go with. All right, so hit pause and try this one out in your equation editor. Here we go with question 41. You have two stores, ABC and XYZ, selling candles, and we're asked to figure out who has the lower unit rate per candle. And here's the correct answer. Store XYZ has a lower unit rate of $1.75. Store ABC has a unit rate of $2. $1.75 is less than 2. And that's all you would write. You would literally type in store XYZ has a lower unit rate of $1.75 per candle. Store ABC, I just realized something, my autocorrect, so check that, XYZ. Check for autocorrect on your platform, make sure it doesn't do that. Store ABC has a unit rate of $2 per candle. $1.75 is less than $2. And that's it. That's all I would need for that section of just the answer. So how do we show our work for this? So here we go. If you have this, great. Make sure you have full complete work though. ABC has candles 6 for $12. So I'm going to make my ratio table, and I have $12 for 6 candles. And I want to know how much one candle is. And this is going to be for store A. So I'm just going to cross multiply. And 6A is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 6. A is equal to 2, or $2. All right, so that's the unit rate for store ABC. Then I would do the same thing for XYZ, money, candle. And in this one, it's 8 candles are $14. So I'm going to put $14, 8 candles, and I want to know the price for one candle. So this is store XYZ, so I'm going to use X. We're going to do our cross multiplying, and 8X is equal to 14. I'm going to divide both of them by 8. Take your calculator if you need to. 14 divided by 8 equals $1.75. And that's the unit rate for XYZ. $2 is more than $1.75. So that's, if you're taking the test on paper, that's all you need. You have your work, you have your explanation. If you are taking it on computer, we need to somehow show this. So I will start by drawing out. Let's make this a little smaller on this side. It's okay. So we can see what we have here. And I would draw 2 ratio tables. And so practice doing this on the equation editor if you're doing this on computers. And this is money and candles. Money and candles. So I would put that in there so I can see it. And then I would do the cross multiplying so that we can see this. Now I'm using a stylus, but I'm going to try, now if I had to use my finger, I'm going to try using my finger for the next one. So you can use your finger or your touchpad if you'd like to do this on a computer. But practice this. Please practice this. And we already have this full answer because we've done it on paper. You're not doing this in your head. And there you go. And I can add this drawing. I can open this down and we can see our drawing. So that's one way you can do this. It shows the work, but again, I'm still working on paper and now I have to redraw it here. The other way I can do this is I can literally write store ABC has, let's see, how do I want to write this? 6 candles for $12. So I would put that in as 6. I would set up as 6A is equal to 12. And I can either rewrite it 12 divided by 6 is equal to A. And this is why, again, it's complicated if you try typing this. A is equal, $2 is equal to A. So this one's it's not as easy, right? To type this out. So the drawing can help. It definitely helps a lot. And I could do the same thing for store XYZ. 8X is equal to 14. Maybe in this one I want to show the division, so I'm going to do as a fraction. And this is why I want you to practice this. It's equal to. So you can make these decisions on the day of. How do you want to do this? X is equal to $1.75. I want lowercase x. I like a lowercase x. The unit rate for XYZ is $1.75. So just think about all the different things that I would have to do here. I like the drawing the best, but you have to practice it with your laptop or whatever you're using in school. Practice. If you are home, go to this link and practice how to do this from paper to doing this. Copy down what we just did and try drawing it on your own so you can see what it's like. See what it's like if you have a stylus or if you're just going to use the trace pad with your fingers. You can do either one. If you want to type it, decide how do you want to solve for a variable. Do you want to just rewrite it as a division problem, or do you want to write it as a fraction problem? You get to decide. And so that's my advice to you for this one. Just practice and make decisions about what makes the most sense. But here you go. This is complete work. You can hit pause, practice jotting this down, and we'll go to the next problem. Okay, for question 42 is also a 2-point problem. The answer would be 11 servings, so that's easy enough to show. How do I get to 11? The box contains 8.5 cups of cereal. 1 serving is 3/4 cups. How many servings? So I am sharing, this is my total, 8.25, and I'm dividing it by 3/4 because I'm sharing by servings. I'm going to rewrite this like this. So if you had 8 1/4 divided by 3/4 this way, great. Now we're going to rewrite this as a multiplication problem. We'll multiply by the reciprocal. And now I'm going to change my improper fraction to a mixed number. So we can multiply, and 12 is on the bottom. We'll use our calculator over here. 33 times 4 is equal to 132. And again, you get to decide how you want to do this. 132 divided by 12 is the same as 132 divided by 12, which is 11. Okay, so you can use either way. Like, I don't care if you leave it this way equals 11, or if you rewrite it like this equals to 11. Either way, you get 11 servings. Now, so how are we going to rewrite that into our work? Again, you can draw it. I want to just practice doing this as a sentence. So I have 8 1/4 divided by, where's my fraction? Here we go. 3/4. So that's my first line. Now I want to turn it into a division, into a multiplication problem. So I'm going to do the same thing. 8 1/4 times, and now I'm going to flip it 4/3. So just look back at your work and just make sure, because it's a very easy place to make mistakes when we recopy. And now I'm going to turn it into improper fractions. 33/4 times 4/3 is equal to, and we can put our answer in. This one's actually pretty easy to type. Give myself a little more room. And 132 divided by 12 is equal to 11. Done. So you could have had it like that, or you could have just written it off as 132 divided by 12 is equal to 11. Either one of those works. They're both correct. So there you have it. That's all of it. And you can see how I'm simplifying it each way. So I have my division, sentence, rewrite as a multiplication sentence, change my mixed number to improper fraction. I did that, and then I solved. Done. If you wanted to draw it, again, you can just hit that little box. And if you wanted to, you could do the same thing, where I do not recommend this because like just drawing the little dots. It doesn't want to draw the little dots. So this, not my faves. Not my favorite way to do it. You could do it, but I'm getting frustrated just making little things. Look, and I'm making silly mistakes because I'm frustrated. Whew, so you can do that. It doesn't look as great. It's not wrong. Just make sure you try to do it as clear as possible. And notice I didn't have a lot of space. So I was more worried about, I made things really kind of tight together because I just didn't have a lot of space. So it's just something else to consider as you're doing this type of problem, if you want to draw it by hand. But you can do that, or you can type it. Again, you are doing it on paper first, and then you are transferring over the work to make it complete. So hit pause, and it's a 2-point question. The final answer is 51. That only gives you 1 point. You got to show your work to get the rest of it. And we want to know the value of this expression. So I'm going to use GEMDAS. Some people say PEMDAS. I sometimes use GEMDAS for any groupings. Multiply, divide, add, subtract. So that's just so I remember what I'm doing. Now, if you want to use P for parentheses instead, that's okay. But I'm going to start with 7 times, and I just start rewriting it. I'm going to start with groupings, which was in the parentheses. So 7 times 2 to the third power. My exponents. Now 2 to the third power. If you don't remember, you can do 2 times 2 times 2. And that gives me 8. Now multiply or divide from left to right. So I'm going to do this part first. 56. And then I'm going to do this part. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And now add or subtract, and I get 51. So there you have it. Nice and easy. So I get 51. All right, I'm not going to draw this with the touchpad because that's a lot. And I don't have a lot of room. I do prefer to type it. So I'm going to use GEMDAS to help me out. And I'm going to do 7 times 5 minus 3. Now, practice this. So automatically here 7 times, parentheses 5 minus 3. Pay it. Now watch what I have to do here to get that parentheses going. As I realize, how am I going to get the parentheses? I'm going to hit this. And I'm going to put in here 7 minus 3. See, I wanted that in parentheses. There. Practice doing that. Oops, why did I put 7? I meant 5. Very easy to make silly mistakes when you're doing something for the first time. So I used that little part here. Oh wait, this is to the third power. There we go. So I keep looking back at my work. Did I write what I meant to write? So 7 times 5 minus 3, parentheses, the little exclamation point. Great. And now minus 20. Let's actually use the minus 20 divided by 4. Great. So I have that there. So now I'm going to do the G for groupings first. I'll write it at the end. So 7 times. And now I want the 2 with the little 3 there. So I'm going to use that. Okay, so I have it. Minus 20 divided by 4. Hold on, I want that minus 20 divided by 4. And I'm even going to put over here, grouping first. So now I did that part. So now when I look at this, what am I going to do next? Exponents second. So I'm going to do the exponent, and I know that's going to be 8. So now I have 7 times 8 minus 20 divided by 4. So what am I going to do next? Multiply or divide. And I'm going to pick multiply. So I have 56 minus 20 divided by 4. Multiply or divide, and I'm going to divide. So now I have 56 minus 5. And then add or subtract. Here I'm going to add and, oops, not adding. Subtract, and I get 51. So here you go. Take a look at all this one. So you can hit pause, take a look at it. But notice what I did. I used my order of operations. And I'm even going to type that in. Because I will say there are some teachers out there who are like, that's not order of operations. That's just a way of remembering order of operations. They're not wrong. They're not. GEMDAS is just a way of remembering the order of operations. But it's so nitpicky, and I get it. So I don't want anyone to lose points on something nitpicky. So I'm writing down, use GEMDAS for order of operations, or to remember for the correct order of operations. Or if you're using PEMDAS, use PEMDAS for the correct order of operations. There you have it. And here you can see it. I wrote my sentence, and I'm telling you everything I'm doing. I'm grouping first. Then I'm doing my exponents. Then I'm multiplying or dividing. I'm going to multiply. Then I divide. Then I subtract. Then I get my answer, my solution. So there is no question whatsoever how I got that answer. And that's what you need to do. Yes, it's a lot for 1 point. And I will say that if I would have had to draw this out, look at this amount of space I have. Look at this amount of space. For me to do this by hand is more frustrating. To go and try to do all this, like, it's bugging me that I can't do a division symbol. So it's not impossible, but I'm just getting frustrated doing it. And here's my question. Now that I'm here, I got to extend it down lower. There you go. Done. Add to drawing. So we just learned something. I can extend that box. So here's everything if I wanted to do it by hand. Either way is accurate. Either way will work. So, if I notice something in here, let me go back in. That I made a mistake here where I should have had that as 3. And so, does that mean now I have to go back and cross out the whole thing? Yeah. So, one mistake there, and I'm trying to figure out, can I go back in? All right, so let's see. Can I go back in there? Nope. I can't figure out a way to go back in and make that correction. So that's just something else to think about. It would mean I would have to cross this whole out again and do it all over. 2-point question. We're getting there. Just, I think 3 more to go. The answer for this one is 24 miles. So that's really easy to type. 24 miles. Or if you want to put a complete answer that answers like a full sentence, the difference between distances traveled by car A and car B after 8 hours is 24 miles. So all I did was restate the question and put in my answer with a solution. There. If I want, but now I'm going to show my work for the rest of it. So how do we get to 24 miles? So here we have car A and car B. Both cars have the same rate of speed. What is the distance between the distances after 8 hours? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 ratio tables. For car A, oops, I'm going to put it here for car A and here for car B. and we have distance and time. Okay, so I'm gonna pick the easiest ratio. I like choosing just the easiest ones because the rest of them are constant anyway. So here's time and distance. So 2 hours for 130 miles, and I want to know after 8 hours. So let's make sure this is super clear. Hours, miles. Hours, miles. If you did miles over hours, that's fine, as long as the 2 and the 8 are in the hours. And I'm going to figure out what this number is. I'm going to call it A. So I'm going to do my cross multiplying. 130 times 8 is equal to 2A. Take out your calculators. 130 times 8 is equal to 1040. We're going to divide both sides by 2. And A for this one is 520. Here you go. So you could just see how I just did it in my head, but let's just check it. 520. And we'll do the same thing with the other one. So 3 hours, 186 miles. And what if we went for 8 hours? What would B be? We'll do the same thing. Cross multiply. 186 times 8 is equal to 3B. All right, 186 times 8 is equal to 1488. 3B. We're going to divide both sides by 3. And I get 496. So that's the first part. So we have our distances. So now I have to do 420 minus 496, and that gives me 24. And that's it. That's how I got my 24. So you can hit pause, jot this down, make sure you have that in your work. Now I have to somehow transfer my work in here. So what I can do in the beginning is I'm going to make my ratio tables. I'm just going to draw these. And I'm going to put hours, miles for A, and hours, miles for B. So 2, 130. Now I'm just copying 3, 186, 8, and B. And I'm just going to write underneath it my equation. So I like just doing this. Just that. So it's in my work. And I kind of want to, no, I'll leave that just like that. Okay, now I'm going to solve distance for A after 8 hours. 130 times 8 is equal to 2A. And you get to decide. Let's do what that next one is. You get 1040 is equal to 2A. So decide how you want to show your division. Completely up to you how you want to show your division. You could either do 1040 divided by 2 is equal to A. And then just say 520 is equal to A. You could do that. Or you can type it in as a fraction. 1040 divided by 2 is equal to, and then I would just do the same thing on the other side, 2A divided by 2. And that's still going to give you 520 equals A. I don't care which one you decide to do. Whichever is the easiest for you that makes sense is the answer. So that I just want to make sure that it makes sense to you and that you can make it super clear to whoever is reading your work that you are dividing both expressions by 2 to isolate and get A. That's the goal. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing for B. We're going to do distance. Let's see, 520 miles is the distance for A after 8 hours. All right, distance for B after 8 hours. And then I got to do the same thing again. 186 times 8 is equal to 3b. 1488 is equal to 3b. And then I'm just going to divide both sides. So I like doing this. 148 divided by 3 is equal to b. 496 is equal to b. And I would write the same thing. The distance after 8 hours is 496. Now, we did all that, but we got to do that last step. So this is, we want to make sure 520 minus 496 is equal to 24 miles. The difference for A and B after 8 hours. And done. So yeah, not easy to show all your work here, but I did a drawing to show my ratio tables, and then I had to type in how I'm solving my equation to figure out the distances A and B, and then what I'm doing, like all these different points. So that's everything. So you can hit pause again, hit pause, stop, go to the next era, practice typing this in. 2 more to go. This one's geometry. The answer is 241.5 or 241 and a half, or something equivalent. I like simplifying it in simplest terms. So this one, very, very easy to type it an answer for. And we just have to show our work. It is a shipping container. It has a right rectangular prism with a base area of 42 and a height of 5 3/4. What is the volume? So we're going to type in volume is equal to capital V times height. So capital B is 42 times 5 3/4. I'm going to change both of these. And this is, again, choice. Would you rather keep these as fractions and do this? Or would you rather change your fraction to a decimal? They're both going to give you the same answer. So if you did as a fraction, you're going to end up with, let's get our calculator going. There we go. 23 times 41 is equal to, oh wait, sorry, I have 42. Just realized that. Sorry about that, math marbles. 42. So let's clear that out. 42 times 23 is equal to 966. And then you're going to divide that by 4, and you get 241 and a half. 0.5, or you're going to put 241 and a half. That's fine. Or you're literally going to do the same thing and put 42 times 5.75, and you also get 241.5 or 241 and a half. Both of them absolutely correct. So let's put this in. The volume is 241.5 or 241. Oops, I keep typing it in on the row 1 and a half cubic feet. Done. That's all I would have to do. Now, for showing our work, I'm just going to put volume equals base height has to be a capital B. Volume is equal to 42 parentheses 5 3/4. And make up your mind how you want this to look. Do you want to do this as fractions where there's more typing honestly involved? Like you're gonna have to just tap things a lot. You got to make sure you're tapping the right thing. So you can do that and do volume is equal to, and I got to do another fraction to make this a little bigger. So that those 3 little lines on the right side, that's what you drag down to make it bigger. So I get 966 over 4 and then volume is equal to 241.5. Or do you want to put volume, just type it in. Like, look at how much faster I can just type this in than doing all the fractions. So much faster. And I get the same thing. That is equal to 241.5. So you decide. Just make sure you get them reasoning. I changed the fraction to a decimal. That's it. And both answers work. So you can hit pause, jot this one down, and again, practice and decide would you rather. Okay, here we go. We're up to the very last one. I actually did find the exact question on the equation editor so you can see it. Notice there are two parts. There's an explain your answer box on top, and then there's a final answer on the bottom. So it doesn't say show your work, it literally just says explain your answer. For the final answer on the bottom, you should have $40.50, and I'll show you how we put the explanation in. All right, so Logan earns money for completing his chores. We can see a graph of it, how much he earns. The first part says, based on the graph, explain the relationship between the number of chores and the amount of money he earns. So I have to really be clear about that, and I need to identify the independent and dependent variables. Okay, so what can I see on this chart? I'm making it bigger just so we can see it. I can see the number of chores is here on the bottom. These are oftentimes, this is the independent variable. So whatever chores he does doesn't change the amount of money he earns. The amount of money he earns completely depends on his chores. So this is dependent. So again, the amount of money he earns depends on the number of chores. That's how I would read this. And I would say it just like that. The amount of money earned depends on the number of chores. Ooh, I actually like writing it that way. The amount of money earned depends on the number of chores. So this is dependent and this is independent. All right, so by looking at this, when he does one chore, I want to know how much, what the relationship is. And for every one chore he does, he makes, this is right in the middle, $4.50. Okay, so that's when he does one chore. When he does two chores, he has $9. That's still, so it's still increased $4.50. When he does three chores, he makes another $4.50 or $13.50. So I can see very clearly that he earns, and this is what I would write that in there, he earns $4.50 for each chore he does. And I have to answer the other part. The number of chores is the independent variable. I'm only going to write the small for space. The amount earned is the dependent variable. All right, so now I'm going to just retype all this in. The answer for this top part up here, super easy. Logan earns $4.50 for each chore he completes. The number of chores is the independent variable, and the amount earned is the dependent variable. I'm even going to put a because in here, because the amount earned depends on the number of chores. Oh, I love the way that sounds. Look at how awesome and clear. I'm going to read it again. Logan earns $4.50 for each chore he completes. The number of chores is the independent variable and the amount earned is the dependent variable because the amount earned depends on the number of chores. Perfect. Perfect. So we've answered that first part. Now for the second part. Determine the total amount of money Logan earns after completing 9 chores. All right, so I know that if he earns $4.50 for each chore, I'm just going to multiply by 9. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to, where's my calculator? And I'm just going to do $4.50 times 9 is equal to $40.50. That's it. He earns $40.50 for 9 chores. I'm even going to go a step further again because $4.50. Oops, wrong space. I do that sometimes. I go to the wrong box. Times 9 is equal to $40.50. Done. And that's it, Math Marbles. That's our last question. Again, I always recommend just practicing going into your equation editor. Practice putting this together. If you're doing it on paper, great, fantastic. Just make sure you have all this written out. I will say that typing it is easier to edit. When you're doing it on paper, you make a mistake, you got to erase a lot, and your paper can look really messy. This box, the equation editor, does make it easier to write in and make it look neater. But there you have it. Again, I will put the link to this in the description of the video so you can practice it and get yourself ready. Now, if there are any topics, I'm going to turn the chats on. So if there's any question or topic you want to see before you get ready for the 6th grade exam, put it in the comments. And I'll see if I have time to make a video before the state test to help you out. As always.